they'll think it's normal. Tesla announced now with the self-driving car yesterday, so you're beginning to understand this disruption that's happening, all right? Let me give you another example. Let me give you the example of a company called Uber. You've all heard of Uber, and everybody says, well, they're a limousine company. No, they're not. They don't own a limousine. They're not in the limousine business. That's a crap business to be in. They don't want to do that. What they're in is the connectivity business. They take a client who wants a car, and they provide you with the driver and that car. And they're the connection, because the driver would never know that person needed a car, and that person would never know how to get an Uber car if it weren't for Uber. So now you call, they come immediately, they basically allow you to own your own company within them. Because now, today, if you are, and they've taken on the taxi cab industry, you have to own a medallion to own a cab. You can drive a cab, but you can't own one. And the medallions are very expensive. You have to belong to the union. With Uber, you can just work under them. You can own your own limo. You can have 17 drivers under your company. You don't need to belong to the unions. And so Uber now is going to go public this year, probably be worth $40 billion. It's in 260 cities already around the world, growing at 40%. All right, that's another one. Now let me give you another one, Airbnb. That's the one that's going to take on basically the hotel industry. So somebody wants to come to Alameda, but they don't want to stay in a hotel, or they're all booked, or it's too expensive. So now they're basically going to connect you with someone who has a home where you can stay in. Now here's how much we've changed. If 10 years ago I had said to you, you know what, one day somebody will come to your house, you won't even know who they are, and you're going to allow them to spend the night and stay with your family, or you'll leave and let them have access to your house, you would have said you're crazy. I would never, ever in my life do that. But you know how many people are doing that every single day? And let me just tell you, since San Francisco passed the law, which says that if you host it, you stay there. You can do it every night of the year if you have people that want to come. If you don't and you leave, it's 90 days a year. Now let me tell you what a beautiful model this is. I know people in San Francisco that are making $4,000 to $8,000 a month by renting out rooms in their house. They're making their mortgage payment on Airbnb. Think about that. People have found a way, and this company has found a way to help you make your mortgage payment or help you with your living expenses just by opening the door to what you own to somebody else. That is amazing. What about Spotify? Taking on the radio business. Because we have radios in cars, you don't need to pay for a radio service, do you? If these millennials will pay for it, you know they will, because they want it different. They want it the way they want it, when they want it, how they want it, who they want to hear. When they don't want to hear somebody, they don't want you on the radio. And so look at all these industries now that I just named that are beginning to change the way the old models were, which creates all new industries, all new pockets of wealth, all new applications, all need for basically new things. Where? Heart, Silicon Valley, obviously, all right? The other thing is, and I call this the year of the East Bay, and I'll tell you why. I'm doing a magazine interview the other day, and the first question I get is, let's talk about the overpriced California, especially San Francisco real estate market, Carol. Okay, and she cites all these wonderful statistics to me that I know already. I mean, what am I, stupid, right? Do you know, Carol, that it's $1.4 million now in San Francisco, and that's like $1,300 a square foot, and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. I said, stop right now. I said, you have the terminology incorrect. She said, well, what would you call it? I said, it is not an overpriced market, because let me give you the definition of an overpriced market. We had markets that were overpriced in the last few years, because here's how you know it. When you put a house on the market and it doesn't sell, and you start to get into the discount business and it doesn't sell, and you're sitting with it for 132 days and it doesn't sell, you've overpriced that property and you have an overpriced market. When you go into a marketplace and 40% of everything is foreclosures and short sales, you overpriced those properties and your market fell in the hell because it was a bubble that you blew up and it burst. We don't have that now, because every place you look, we either have homes that will sell. they're priced correctly, or homes that sell, my God, with multiple offers, everybody running after them, no inventory, we can't keep them on the market long enough, they sell before they even get on the market, and this year it's happening both at the entry level and at the higher level too, okay? That is not an overpriced market. That is an expensive market, but it has value that people have put on it. It's a highly valued market. It's desirable. That's different than overpriced. Something overpriced is not desirable. What we do have here is an affordability issue. That's the key. Now, the key is this. You may not be able to live where you want to live. You may have to go where you have to go to live. That's the key. Now, that is not a good or bad thing. People don't like it because everybody wants to live where they want to live. Well, maybe you can't live where you want to live, but the key is it's not overpriced, it's highly valued. And you need to explain that to your clients because there's a big difference. You don't want to be in an overpriced market, but you do want to be in a highly valued market because it only means that the values will continue to probably go up against our economy. And you always judge markets against economic conditions, income growth, and the ability of people to have employment. And just look at the numbers I just told you, and that's not going to stop here for 3 to 5 years. So you do want to be in this highly valued market. Now, sometimes you get to choose where you want to live, but sometimes you need to go where you need to live. And here's the other thing that people need to understand. Real estate, for the first time that I can remember, is almost working like a stock because you can ladder it. And what do I mean by laddering it? Laddering is when you buy a stock and then you buy another one and then you buy another one and a little bit more of it and a little bit more of it so that eventually you've moved up the ladder, okay? And then you buy bonds and stocks so you begin to diversify. Well, real estate really hasn't worked that way, but it's beginning to do that now because here's the key. People need to get in. They need to get into that first property. And I don't care whether it's a condo instead of a house, so maybe you can't live in, Menlo Park, California, or you can't live in Danville, or you can't live at some of the higher ends. But you can come and you can move into a condo. Maybe it's only going to be a 1-bedroom, but then you can move to a 2-bedroom. Then you'll eventually get to a house. Then maybe you use that house and you can rent it out and it becomes an investment property and you can buy another one. And you see what I'm saying? We're starting to ladder. Then you go to the primary residence to the second home and maybe you start with investment property and then you buy a triplex or a small apartment. So you're laddering real estate the way you do with stock, and that's how you build great wealth. And people need to understand, why do you have that opportunity now? Because interest rates are so low. That's why you have that opportunity. And the minute interest rates go up, you're not going to have that opportunity because now you're getting free money. So you know and I know, if you pay 7% to a bank or 3% to a bank, the difference is enormous. That 4% differential goes to your equity rather than to the bank, and that makes an enormous difference. So it's not appreciation at the end. Yeah, that's wonderful and magical. It's low interest rates that basically why you want to get in. So that was one question that somebody asked me. Now, why do I say it's the year of the East Bay also? Because, see, you're affordable over here. That's the key. It's not affordable where I come from. Believe me, it is absolutely astronomically ridiculous, all right? We are talking about areas that are so hot now that when I tell you about them, you're going to go, that's impossible. The Bayview, you know where Candlestick Park is, that was a former garbage dump? They're going to put a whole environment there with retail, commercial, and buildings. Do you know it's already 80% pre-sold, and the average price is going to be $1 million? Unbelievable. It was a garbage dump, okay? Go into the city, to the Outer Mission, Burnell Heights. Go to the dregs of San Francisco, okay? The dregs of San Francisco. And it's close to $1 million. You can't touch anything there for under that, all right? So therefore, that's the way it is. South San Francisco, Daly City, all right? Basically, Broadmoor, all right? All these areas now, they're up in the $800,000 and $900,000. And you know what? You can't keep anything on the market. It's on the market for 2 days, 3 days, and it goes like that. Shoreview, which is on the wrong side of 101 in San Mateo, was down to basically 200,000-300,000. It's up to 700,000-800,000 now. You can't touch anything. Then we go to the high-end areas, and it's ridiculous. Okay, I mean, when you start to get to Palo Alto and Cupertino and Mountain View and those areas, it's off the chart. It's off the chart. An average home in Palo Alto, depending upon what side you're on, because there's sides of Palo Alto, all right? East Palo Alto, which is basically was the highest crime rate. I told you I used to go through East Palo Alto to get to Cornish and Cary when I was working there. And what I did for the 2 blocks that you had to go through of East Palo Alto, I used to lock my car, pull up the windows, and there was a stop sign there, and I never listened to the stop sign. I didn't care whether it was red, yellow, or green. I went through it because I thought I'm going to die here. I mean, it was like a haven with drug dealers and all these people standing on the street that I thought, oh my God, I don't relate to these people at all. So at the end of the day now, East Palo Alto, hottest area almost in basically the peninsula. And you see homes for $2 and $3 million there.
Wow.
My daughter lives in an area off of Oregon Expressway, which I would call a B location in Palo Alto, because you can't live in Palo Alto. The average price there is $4 million now. $4 million if you get up towards University Avenue. So she gets a refi, and we go and get an appraisal, and I think she has a very average house. Okay, they've done it very nicely. It's all been redone, so it's very nice. But it's about, 1,500 maybe square feet. It's a nice house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, living room, dining room combination, kitchen with a little family room. A little piece of land, kind of nice, not anything spectacular. Comes in with an appraisal of $1.6 million. $1.6 million. This is ridiculous. I mean, it's unbelievable, all right? And now it's probably $1.8 million. And in her area, what they're doing is people are buying the houses there and adding on to them, or they're building there. And let me tell you what the big hot thing is in Palo Alto: to build a sub-basement, because there's no parking there, see, okay? And land is very, very scarce. And those houses are going for $3 million. $3 million, like crazy. And they don't even stay on the market more than 2 or 3 days. So obviously somebody's buying, right? Somebody has the money to do that. So what's going to be great over here is, one, affordability. The second thing is manufacturing and construction is coming back to the East Bay. You need to understand that. Every place you look, you're going to see Seagate come in, Amazon's building a warehouse, Telsa's coming in and expanding their factory. All of these things now that they're doing, you're going to begin to see a lot of construction and manufacturing, and that's good for you. And the reason why it's good is people can live here then. They don't have to commute way over someplace else. They'll be able to live here. We've talked about the buses going back and forth, and they're all mobile now, so that solves a problem. I'll tell you where the next good areas are going to be. And basically, they're going to be Manteca, Ripon, Tracy, Stockton, and Modesto. Do you know that I was up there the other day in Manteca and in Ripon, and you cannot find anything anymore in the $200,000 to $400,000 range. It's absolutely so hot. So if you have an investor and they don't have a lot of money, they could go up there and buy something, and it's absolutely so hot you can't touch it. So at the end of the day, when somebody says to me it's overpriced, it's not overpriced. It all depends upon the value people put on things. That's what they don't understand. Let's all agree. It's ridiculous. $4 million in Palo Alto is ridiculous. My daughter's house for $1.6 million, when her mother-in-law in Indianapolis saw it, she thought that she only got a picture of half the house, okay? So at the end of the day, and that's it. And she keeps calling me and telling me, if they moved here for $400,000, I could get them a 5,000 square foot house. And what I wanted to tell her was, look, one, my daughter's not going to Indianapolis. But I didn't say that to her. I said, I'll buy her a goddamn house better than this one before she's moving to Indianapolis. I said, if you think my grandchildren are going back there and I have to get on a plane, you're out of your mind, lady. But I didn't say that to her. What I said to her is, well, I understand that, but you see, she works for an internet company, and he's a patent attorney, and they probably need to be out here because that's where the jobs are. Also, the weather's not great back there, right? And a $400,000 house in 10 years is going to be worth $425,000. Here in 10 years, the $1.6 million is going to be worth $3 million. Okay, so lady, look, I don't want to kind of confuse you, but that's the way life works. Okay,
and
so,
therefore they're not overpriced.
That's right.
They're way underpriced, and just see what you think in 10 years.
That's right.
I mean,
and I think this is going to happen and go on for 3 to 5 years because of the internet disruption and the phase that we're at. Will it come to an end? Sure, it probably will. Will it calm down? Yes, it will. Will we go into the dregs like we did before? Probably not with the clientele that's buying now, and I'll tell you why. Because even if their homes went down 10, 15% in value, let's say, most people can't get a loan unless you are a good borrower now and you put money down. You're not getting these easy, loosey-goosey loans anymore. And do you know you still have 25% all cash? When you pay all cash, you own your property. You don't care whether it goes up and down. You'll just hold it if that's where you want to live. And you now have foreign buyers that are going to be about 27%. The millennials, the 25 to 45-year-olds that you're dealing with now, they're now 27% of your market. In 5 years, they're going to be 37% of your market. And you know how they think. They don't care. And here's the deal with them. And I want to talk now about what you need to tell sellers. Sellers are very interesting people, and I'll give you some examples. Let me just tell you how this market is working. I'm in an office last week, a house goes on the market. It sells for 1.5 and it fell through. In 1 week, somebody came back and paid 1.7 for it. 1.7, knowing that 1.5 was the first offer and that the people had accepted it. But you know what happened between 1.5 and 1.7? 5 other people got into the mix that wanted that property, okay? I have a lady who's a neighbor of mine. She's a real estate agent. And she comes to me and rings my doorbell 3 nights ago, and she says, Carol, there's a house in Parrot Park, which is a nice area of San Mateo, an absolutely beautiful piece of property, totally redone inside. And she said it's listed for 1.6. And she said, we know of 3 offers that are coming in, but there's 15 packets out. And she said, I have no idea what to tell my clients. I'm having a hard time getting them above 1.7. So the first thing I said to her was, the first thing you have to say to them is, what's the right market price? You know that. What is the right market price? Is it 1.6? She said no. I think the right price is 1.750. Then you need to go back and say to them, I'm not going to submit an offer for you for 1.7 because that's ridiculous. The market is above that. It's 1.750. So that's where we need to start. That's number 1, okay? Number 2 is you have 3 offers coming in. You have to figure out a 15 package. You're going to get a couple of more, right? You will. So you have to figure you're going to get at least 6 offers. And basically 4 of them are probably going to be all cash because we're talking about the all cash market over there. So I gave her a formula. I'm going to give you a new formula. I think the formula is this. You get to market. You must get to the market price. Then if you have single number of bidders, you should take that market price and basically bring it up depending upon condition and location, 3 to 6%. If you have double bidders, then you take the market price and you do the same thing depending upon condition and location of the property, and you bring it up 6 to basically 9%. That's a very simple formula. It's very easy to use. So she goes in, she convinces them, and then the third thing that I said to her is, you have to wow these people. You have to wow sellers as a buyer. You have to make them look at your offer and it stands out among the crowd because it has to be the one that's different from everybody else's. Oh, but we're all cash, she said, and we are going to have 10-day close. I said, that doesn't mean anything. It did in the beginning 1.5 years ago, but all cash 10-day close as is doesn't mean anything anymore. You're just one among many. I said, so she said, so what's going to do it? I said, well, I'll tell you what I think is going to do it. To take the 1 and make it a 2. Oh my God, Carol. She said, but we're at 1.750. I said, no, you're not. That's what the market was, and that's what the market is. Now you're going to the next step, and you need to tell them, don't put a 2 in front of it. You're not going to get it. You're going to lose this house that you love. You're going to be out looking for another one. It's going to go up now because this one sold for 2. All the people that were chasing with you are going to be out chasing, and more people are coming in. So what have you accomplished in your life? Absolutely nothing. So you need to put a 2, but they won't want to put a 2. Then take them someplace else because they can't afford to live in this area. That's the way it works. That's not my fault. It's not my problem. It's the way that it is. So imagine, she got him to 1.9. What a mistake. And I felt sorry for her because she came back at 4 hours later, almost in tears. And she said, I got him to 1.9 and we're not going to get it, right, Carol? I said, no, you're not going to get it. I said, I know it. He should have put the 2. What's the difference between 1.9 and 2? If $100,000 meant that much to him and it was such a difference that he couldn't afford it. She said, no, they have the cash. I said, then he's an idiot because guess what? For $100,000, he's going to blow getting this house. It went for $2,050,000. And this man could have put that on the table or 2.1 and it wouldn't have meant anything to him. And his wife was hysterical that they didn't get it. Oh, mad at him like you can't believe, because she would have gone for the 2. And they were old clients of this woman. This is the 3rd property she sold them. And she was so mad at her husband, not the real estate agent, because she likes the agent, they're friends. And she said that her husband just would not do it. Now, he'll probably do it the 2nd time, but she wants that house. Unfortunately, she's not going to get that house. Now, she may find another one that she likes as well, but I don't know because she fell in love with that one, okay? So he's in trouble. Big, big trouble.
He's buying 2 houses.
You got it.
Ex-wife house and his own.
That's it. Or he's going to buy that house, and if that house ever comes back on the market, he's going to go buy it and have to pay a fortune for it just because he was stubborn. He just wouldn't do it. And I think that's the key. You have to wow a seller when there's multiple offers. All cash, 10-day close doesn't work anymore. Now buyers need to understand, who are you, what can you afford, and where can we look? Because if things are going over, quote unquote, the list price, which means nothing to me, then you have to get them very realistic. And the key for them is, look, I understand you'd like to live here, and that's the goal, but you're never gonna get there if you don't get in here. So you've gotta get in, and you've gotta understand that there are people who can get it up here, fine. And you're in the entry level, and that's fine too, because that's the way it should work. You should start here and go there. You have people who can afford to do anything, and there is so much money in this valley. I cannot believe it. Let me just tell you the story about my granddaughter. The other thing that I noticed is, and let's talk a little bit about these millennials. They're a very different generation. Do you know how different they are than the baby boomers? The baby boomers kind of flaunted their money, and they were out there, you know, boasting, and they were big high rollers and leveraged everything, okay? These people have the cash. They're not leveraging like we are. They're leveraging, but they're leveraging and they can afford to leverage. So they'll go and buy a house and then refinance it, but it doesn't mean anything because they could turn around and pay it off tomorrow. The baby boomers leveraged everything, and they were living on borrowed money and credit cards. What I've noticed about these millennials, though, is very interesting. The first point of contact you always have with them is the phone. Now it's going to be the wristwatch. You do know that. This idea that we've been taught how to communicate and one-on-one and relationship building, you can get to that, but it doesn't happen with them going in, because even if you meet them, they say, send me something, right? Text me, send me something on my phone, send me, send me, send me. It's all send me, right? Okay, so that's the first thing. They communicate totally differently than we've been trained to communicate. The second thing is, they're not a real loyal group, so you're only as good as your last deal. You do understand that. They'll move on, and they don't understand why you would be upset by that, because that's what they do in life. They go from one deal to another. They're extremely competitive. You do understand that. The whole thing is about winning, not just about getting. It's about winning when you get. And winning to them isn't, oh, gee, we got a house and it was reduced and we got it for a really good price. They don't care about that. In fact, they don't like that, because that shows them that they didn't get a house that everybody else wants. They got a house that sat in the market too long. They want a house that 14 other people who also work in their area want, so they can boast that they got it and these other people didn't. That's what they're all about. I am amazed, because when I was out with my granddaughter at this ice skating session, they had a soccer game going on for children 9 years old. And I was sitting next to a gentleman who said to me, it costs $1,000 to equip these children to play soccer, which is what, 6 weeks or 7 weeks, with all the helmets that you need, and the gear, and the skates, and the everything. And there were like 30, 40 kids on this rink, right? So just listen to what you're talking about. $30,000, $40,000 for a 6-week endeavor. Now, my granddaughter, and I love this is the other thing now. In all the schools now, they do all this testing. You do for hearing and speech and this, that, and whatever. That's the new mantra out there now, a new way to make money. All right. So I have a granddaughter in a private school, and it comes home from the teacher a note that she fidgets in class. She's moving too much, okay? She's not focusing properly. Okay, great.
Boring.
So my daughter says to me, what do you think? I said, you sit the kid down and you tell her this is school. This is not playtime. Is there something she really wants? Then tell her, you get better at sitting still, and guess what? We'll think about getting you that. And you will sit down and shut up and focus on the teacher, because that's your job. Oh, no. That is not how it works, my daughter said. I said, how does it work? She said, I have the name of a consultant that we have to call and take Jessica to. Terrific. So we call up this idiot consultant who tells us that, yes, she will interview Jessica and the family at $500 for the first interview. So now we're out $500 to have this woman tell us, yes, she's fidgeting. Obviously, we knew that. I didn't pay $500 to find that out. However, she says to my daughter, I really can't tell you what would be good for Jessica unless I go to the classroom and I observe her. That's another $500. Now we're at $1,000 and we've gotten no place, okay? So she comes with a chair. Now this chair was developed by a doctor at Stanford. And it's a chair that's supposed to help children in school that fidget sit. It was a rocking chair. Now, I want to ask you a question. You put a 7-year-old in a rocking chair, and what do you think they're going to do? So they put Jessica at the back of the classroom, and by the end of the day, she was at the front of the classroom because she rocked. So she has a major problem, right? So now, let me just tell you the end to that. They gave her gum to chew. She chews gum now. She's allowed to chew gum in class. And we now go to occupational therapy once a week at $200 a shot so that Jessica can learn to sit still. Now, wait, the story gets better. Ice skating, right? Okay, so between the time that we got started the occupational therapy, I got a hold of Jessica. Now, I'm the grandmother. We're going back to the old rules. I sat her down. I said, Jessica, they say you're moving too much at school. Is that true? Well, I don't know, Nana. Maybe. I guess I think so. I said, Jessica, let me try to explain this to you. You've been wanting to take ice skating lessons forever. And here's the way this is going to work. Nana's going to give you private ice skating lessons, and I'm going to buy the skates for you. And here's the deal. I need to hear from the teacher that you're sitting still and you're getting better. Because when I hear that, you get to keep taking lessons. And the day another note comes home that you're not behaving and you're fidgeting, guess what happens to the skates? Nana takes them home to her house. And no more lessons. Now, do you know we got a note from the teacher last Friday how improved she is? Now, I want to ask you a question. Is she improved because of the stupid consultant? Or is she improved because, guess what? I sat her down and told her, look, kid, this is the way it works. And if you want A, you got to do B. And if you don't want A, good, I don't really care. I mean, this is the way you handle things, okay? And I see them doing that. My granddaughter goes to another party. This is the little one. And she's like 5 years old. And this was a horseback riding party. Okay, fine. And in the party of 8 little girls, 7 of them had horses. They already have horses, and they're 7 years old with these fancy Hermes saddles. My granddaughter has no horse, and she's not getting one, I tell you that. And she's not getting a Hermes saddle that costs her children $5,000, for adults about $13,000. So what I'm trying to tell you is the affluence, what they buy, what they can do, is absolutely astronomical. I mean, it's just beyond the pale of what you even think of as being necessary. And of course, you know, their pets, they spend a fortune on their pets. Their children have to be perfect. I mean, we're redoing everything in these children. Their eyes, their teeth, how they walk, how they sit, what they do. And you know, every kid has at least 5 activities. You do know that. They pick them up at school, there's gym, ballet, tennis, computer training, you know, chess, fencing, I mean, name it. It's all there. Swimming, oh, swimming's biggie, okay. And you've got to have at least 5 to 7 activities. So just times that. And so I said to my daughter the other day, how much money do you have going out in extracurricular activities now, and they are in speech therapy and the one in occupational therapy? She told me it runs them $2,000 to $2,500 a month just in extracurricular activities and the 2 training sessions for the children. Now, can you believe that? $2,500 a month, and they're in private schools. I pay for the private schools. So they have that off their back, $2,500 a month, just because the stupid teacher said you have. And you know what? My daughter said, if you don't do it, then they give you a bad name at the school, and if the child doesn't improve, they're going to write that you did this to your child, and the child will hate you forever, because the child will say, if you had done what I was supposed to have done,
it's like
you know,
parental
perfect,
abuse.
but I'm not perfect now,
This
right?
is in Palo Alto where they have the crappy public schools, right?
That's right, yeah, 10 out of 10. Okay, in the public schools in Palo Alto, and it's not just the private schools. Believe me, it's not just the private schools. It's in all the schools now. It's a great way to make money because they refer these people to these counselors, and they give you the name of the counselor. They don't tell you go pick one. They give you one. This is the one that you should see for this problem. This problem? Okay, fine. And I mean, it's unbelievable. It's speech, it's hearing, it's occupational therapy, it's, you know, how they walk, it's, you know, how they, oh, the other one that I love is this, social skills. Thank God we passed that test. Thank God we passed social skills, because they also go where you have a friend class, and the parents need to go, and you all be social and become friends. I mean, it is unbelievable. I mean, I just can't believe it. I said, oh my God, are you kidding? It's social? Yes, we have one for that too, and a consultant, and a whole series of classes so that your child will learn how to socialize.
This is because they don't go outside and play anymore.
I think it's because the world went crazy. It's the adults. I don't blame the children. They're just the victims. The children are the victims. They have to go through all this crap. I blame the parents who are idiots that basically think that they have to have perfect children. They're not perfect. They'll never be perfect. These kids are gonna be 21 and exhausted, and they're never gonna wanna work. These kids are never gonna wanna do anything, you know that? And they have never had a hard day in their life. What if all of a sudden we have another world war and they have to go fight someplace? You know what they're gonna do, don't you? They're gonna lay down their arms first thing that somebody comes at them, because they've never had one hard day in their life. I mean, they're 7-year-olds riding a horse, right, with a Hermes saddle on. Oh, that really gonna be good, when you have to go in the boonies someplace and kill somebody or do whatever you have to do. I mean, it's just an amazing thing to me. All right, so that's what you've got. You've got the entry market, the worker bees, who do understand how the world works, because they're working hard trying to make a living and educate their children. And then you've got these millennials who are, oh, and I'll tell you the best story. Wait, this is a great story. You know, my son is a hedge fund guy, and they are pretty wealthy. He's the wealthiest one in the family, and I don't say that to be obnoxious, believe me. I just have to say that to caveat the story. And he has 2 boys. They live in Pacific Heights. They live in a penthouse, and she has his wife, the nanny. They have the lady that comes to clean the house. She has somebody who does the ironing, and she has somebody who comes in 2 days a week called a personal assistant. Are you listening to me? That's 4 people just to keep her, the bubblehead I call her, in good stead. Okay, she's a nice girl, but she hasn't got a brain in her head. But she's pretty, okay? She looks like Gwyneth Paltrow, very pretty, but hasn't got a brain in her head. So she calls me up the other day, and this goes to show you how much she doesn't understand me. She calls me up and she says to me, who's working, still working, right? Has worked all her life, right? Does not dress fancy, none of that. No rings on the finger. I mean, you get the picture, okay. And she says to me, I found a passion for what I want to do. Oh, good, I said to her. And what is this passion? Well, I've been playing tennis every day now. And she said, there's a tennis club in Marin. And she said, I would like to ask you how I can ask your son that we could become members of this tennis club. And I'm thinking to myself, lady, you are calling the wrong person. But, you know, I'm trying to be nice. So I said to her, oh, gee. I said, and what does it cost? Well, it's really expensive. I said, no, that isn't the question I asked you. I asked you, what does it cost? She said, it's $18,000 to join this tennis club, okay? And she said, well, I want to know how I should ask Bill. I said, well, why don't you just ask him and see what he says? Because I know what Bill's going to say, right? I said, but I don't understand, because you're playing tennis there. Why do you have to be a member? She said, well, the problem is this, Carol. She said that when a member comes on the court, then I have to wait my turn. Because, see, I'm not a member, and members get to go first. Oh, I really am feeling sorry for her over that. I want to tell you, that really crushed my day. So I get off the phone. I call my son about 2 hours later, and I said to him, William, I hear that someone's coming your way about basically a membership. He said, look, we've already been there. She called me right after she called you. He said, I killed that going right in. I told her, number one, $18,000 net is $36,000 to me, because we have to pay tax on that money. And if you think I'm spending $36,000, and she said to me, he said, if you could believe this, that she thought it would be a nice 10th wedding anniversary present for them. He said, what's the them in that? She's playing tennis, I'm working to pay for the tennis. That's how that worked out. So I told her she was out of her mind. And I said, what did she say? She said, well, she didn't quite understand. I said, it doesn't matter. I said, because William, if you had put up a membership for that club, I was going to take you out of the will. Because I would have thought you were absolutely incapable, and I would have said that you needed help and support. So, now, what can I tell you? Real estate market, look, you're in a great market.